All right, here we go. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order a public hearing, Goshen Central School District Board of Education, to present the revised 2026-27 budget being held on Monday, June 8th, 6:30 p.m. in the Board of Education room. After the Pledge of Allegiance, if we can please have a brief moment of silence to remember James Amos, father of Kristen Callahan, our orchestra teacher at GHS.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, everybody. And now I'll turn it over to our interim superintendent, Mr. Tom Bon Jovi.
Thank you, President Loftus, Board of Education, members of the public, members at home. We'll be presenting the revised budget. So Dr. Carter and Pam from panel will make the voting. Good evening again, Board of Education, members of the public, members of administration, and of course, our public at home. So we're presenting the proposed revised budget for the June 16th revote. That is 1 week from tomorrow, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. right here in the Main Street building. So we discussed at a previous meeting, we heard the concerns of the public, some of the concerns of the board, and we took those under consideration and revised the current budget.
Tested it. Just see. I'll try now. Let's receive the ends. We're frozen. It's not the clicker.
It's not the clicker.
It's
Okay.
not the clicker.
All right.
Nope, now we went, yeah, it went super fast. All right, you should be on track now.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Reddick. Again, the total budget, revised budget 101,033,650. It is a reduction of $16,801 from the previous budget, but we'll be discussing that a little further, and you'll see there's other reductions, so it's more than the 16,801. So, and we will explain that as we go through the budget. The revenue that comes in 96,060,461. Now, we still have about a $4.9 million gap in our budget where we have to put in some of our reserve funds and then fund balance. So we're putting in from reserves 1,223,189. So that is $73,312 less than the previous proposed budget. Again, remember, reserve funds, these are your rainy day funds. These are funds for when there's an emergency and something comes up that needs to be paid for. So being fiscally responsible, we do need to kind of keep those reserve funds intact for as long as possible for future use. We are still using the same appropriated fund balance of $3,750,000 to make that total 101,033,650. Also, there's a reduction in the tax levy. So the tax levy, we'll revisit this again a little later. It was 3.06. It is now reduced to 2.8. That is a reduction of $148,746, which means that we'll be collecting $148,746 less in taxes. We wanted to review over the administrative and or the non-student related reductions. So certainly this was a point of contention. The superintendent's salary contractual, so that was lowered. 26,994 and 13,000 for the contractual. Now, non-aligned directors, so the non-aligned workers, that's the people who work here at Main Street. These are the people who are not in a union. So, and then the directors, of course, the various directors that we have. So that amount was lowered 50,684. We talked about lowering of the legal fees, so that was through a renegotiation with our firm, but also taking a look at the use of the attorneys this year. We have been using them less, we've been solving a lot of the issues just internally without having to call the attorneys quite so much. And the administrator/tech director position, that's taken out, so that's 48,477 for a total reduction, as you can see, of 185,655. Now, monies were then moved over to the student-centered additions and investments in the future. So I do want to review all those to make sure we covered items that we discussed. So the TOSA teacher on special assignment stays in that assignment, which means that the social studies teacher at the high school stays where they are. So that 96,757 represents those salaries plus the benefits. We added in 34,000 at the high school, because we discussed that publicly. That will give us the flexibility to either expand existing courses at the high school that perhaps, there's more interest in, or to start some new courses at the high school. And that money is based on that 6-period salary pay that's in the teacher contract. We left room for expansion for clubs. So an extra 5,000 at the high school and 5,000 at C.J. Hooker. That is in case new ideas, new clubs come up, we would have the money to support them. We added in a little under $4,000. We discussed this, I believe, at the last presentation to web hosts. So we are moving away from Capital Region BOCES because Parent Square that parents are familiar with, they also host websites. But there's going to be a lag there in the turnover of the web hosting from Cap Region to Parent Square. So we're gonna pay that money, but it should take only about a month or two, and then we will get reimbursed for the money we don't use. We increased monies for music equipment at all levels. So at high school, an additional $4,000 for music equipment, C.J. Hooker, 2,500, GIS 2,500, and then 1,000 at Scotchtown. That's just under general equipment, because they don't have a separate music line because they don't have quite as many expenses with the music, so it's just put into their general equipment. Contractual play, we restored the 2,000 and added additional 2,000, so $4,000 for the high school play, 1,700 for art at the high school, 600 for foreign language at the high school to help pay for and continue with the biliteracy movement. Art supplies at the high school increased by 3,900 and art supplies at C.J. Hooker by 4,000 for a total of 168,854. Now again, as a reminder, the tax cap on the May 19th vote was at the maximum tax levy of 3.06, so we lowered that to 2.8%. Again, that is a reduction of $148,746 in taxes collected. So the tax levy again is below the tax cap, but as you can see, we're able to maintain our instructional program and we left room for expansion in both courses and clubs.
So we've taken that new tax levy of 2.8% that's proposed for this budget and projected out what the impact would be on a $450,000, $550,000, and $650,000 home. And what the average reduction is as compared to the 3.06% tax levy impact is $56 less per month. Now, this is in the village and town of Goshen only because this section makes up the largest part of our taxpayers. And it also is based on the 25-26 current assessments and equalization rates. Those typically will change in August before we set the tax rates at that time, but I don't expect a large variance there. And it also takes into consideration, does not take into consideration any exemptions such as STAR, senior exemptions or veteran exemptions. So these are estimates based without those exemptions into consideration. And again, you can see the reduction is $148,746 in the overall tax levy.
So again, to reiterate, the superintendent instructional line, that was lowered from 285 to 260 as per our conversations. And Mrs. Van Lammel's gonna go over the three-part budget.
As required in New York State Ed, we have to report, all school districts must report the budget in 3 sections, their administrative, capital, and program. This is a comparison of the current budget, 25-26, and the proposed budget for the June 16th vote, and the dollar change. The overall increase in the budget comes to a little bit over $4.2 million. And just to let you know too, when we do these calculations in the 3 sections, we have to include benefits for any staff that is paid in each of these sections. And that's unlike our typical budget, but we have to break it down this way according to the state. And now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Carter to go over what's in each of these sections.
So the 3-part budget is of course made up of 3 components, and our job here this evening is to help you better understand how we're actually spending money within each of these components. When you look at the administrative component, it's important to understand that this generally covers leadership, oversight, and management of the school district in general. As you can see on the board, this encompasses all district and building administrators, administrative support staff, legal and auditing services, insurance costs, data processing, and on the bottom we have listed BOCES, administrative, capital, and rental costs. So collectively, these functions ensure that we operate efficiently, that responsibly, and most importantly, that we manage our funds responsibly because they are public funds. Just for a point of clarity, the BOCES administrative costs, these are the costs that are associated with our part of all regional services provided by BOCES, and that is established by a New York State formula in accordance with our actual enrollment population. And so that represents Goshen's share of all BOCES services for all component districts. As we move to the capital component, this is the operation, maintenance, and preservation of all buildings, facilities, and even our infrastructure. And so as you see listed here, we have custodial and maintenance and operations costs, utilities, supplies, all repairs, capital improvement projects such as our recent roof project. And then also we talk about all debt service obligations that are associated with voter approved projects. And so collectively, these investments help to ensure that we continue to provide a safe and secure and very sound learning environment for all of our learners, all of our students. Another point of clarity, debt service, again, this represents the payments that we make on all voter approved capital projects, building renovations, safety upgrades, any major facility improvements. And so finally, we move to the absolute largest component, the program component. And this is the component that directly supports our students and their educational experiences here in the district. And so these include costs associated with salaries and benefits of teachers and instructional support staff, counseling and student support services, athletics and extracurricular services, instructional materials, textbooks, transportation, BOCES educational programs, and any specialized out-of-district placements that are needed as required. And so this component, again, represents the largest portion of the budget, and it encompasses programs, services, and all opportunities that we provide students each and every day here in Goshen Central Schools. So we do have a couple of items there that we want to offer clarity on. BOCES services. So when you think of operational programs and specialized instruction, we think often of CTEC. We do think of special education services. We do have the opportunity to get involved with BOCES and some of their support services. So if you recall, we worked with BOCES closely when we went through our cybersecurity attacks. So they do offer support services in the realm of technology and many others. BOCES offers many other services. When we talk about out-of-district placements, usually we get involved with placing students in out-of-district placements because the current programming in our district facilities cannot offer exactly what the student needs, usually by way of IEP and specialized instruction. So those would be out-of-district placements. It can be in Rockland County, it can be at Orange Ulster BOCES, and it can be in many other facilities, which then leads to transportation costs, which for us includes daily transportation of our students to and from school during the regular school day, which could include those trips to Rockland County and other faraway out-of-district placements. But it also covers all transportation associated with athletics, any extracurricular events, any other competitions. Basically, any transportation associated with our students and their participation in events that we offer. And so collectively, when you look at the three-part budget, those three components in summary, you have the administrative, which is leadership and oversight. You've got the capital, which is essentially our schools and our facilities. And you've got the program component, which is everything that we provide for our students daily.
So certainly we do have to go over, well, what does it mean by contingency budget? So that again is, if the vote does not pass a second time, we automatically have to go to contingency budget. Now, this is not to, as I've heard, spread fear. This is to make it clear. Clear, not fear. This is just the reality. These are items that potentially might have to be cut if we went to contingency, because again, it is a $1.6 million gap. So it means some non-mandated programs. So automatically community use of the facilities, it would have to be charged. Clubs, activities, field trips, select ensemble groups, even theater productions and transportation outside of the regular school day, so like late buses. Those would be all examples of non-mandated. Athletics, so as you can see, all levels of athletics could potentially be up for reduction. So from modified JV, low participation varsity sports, the transportation, and then the opportunity to do some of the traveling that we do for tournaments. Under academics, certainly, we would have to take a look at low enrollment electives that we have, our dual enrollment program, and then the internship opportunities. And then, of course, as we just reviewed, the biggest part of any budget is going to be your staffing. So we would take a look at administration, teachers, teaching assistant, teacher aides, clerical, maintenance, and even security. So these are all items that we would not want to touch, but perhaps would have to if the budget did not pass. So again, to recap the entire budget, so you can see it all on one slide. So the budget, it is $16,801 less at $101,033,650. The tax levy was reduced from 3.06 to 2.8, so generating $58,877,170. So that's generating $148,746 less. The revenue, it is up 36,511 at a total of 96,060,461. That is because when we first did the budget, the state budget wasn't passed. So we did get slightly more revenue coming in from the state in the area of aid. The appropriate reserves, again, is 1,223,189, and is $73,312 less than the previous proposal. And then the fund balance of $3,750,000 is still the same amount. Again, as a reminder, the vote is a week from tomorrow, and it's Tuesday, June 16th. The polls are open from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. and you vote right here at 227 Main Street. And again, we are one district, one mission, and that mission is our kids. Thank you. This concludes our presentation.
Before we move on to our next item, do you mind if I ask you a quick question, just for clarification?
Absolutely.
There unfortunately has been, I'll talk about a contingency budget, and we all hope we don't end up there, but you pointed out things that potentially could get cut. Who sets the regulations for things that can't get cut?
So that's by New York state law, so the items that cannot get cut includes the transportation,
Transportation includes equipment and increases for the non-union personnel. The office and the directors.
I just appreciate that clarification, things that can't get cut, that's set by New York State, not the district. For what, the list of camps.
that's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to get that clarification, I do appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next item here, we have our public comment. And thanks folks who showed up here, we have a small handful of folks, we appreciate that, and we have Joe Connell.
It's red, it's on.
It's off right now, so just put, there you go, there.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
My one job.
Got it covered well. Good evening, President Loftus and members of the board. My name is Joe Connell and I'm a district resident and a parent of 2 children currently attending our Goshen schools. I've spoken previously about the budget indicating my own conflict with voting, including not voting a few weeks ago, and shared my sentiments of what I felt the community vote showed. I do plan to vote yes next week and will be encouraging my friends and family members to do the same. I do want to thank the board and the administration for sharpening your pencils and taking action to put a revised budget forward. Sincerely, thank you. To my neighbors, I encourage everyone to vote yes on this revised budget. It is how we actively support our students, protect our incredible teachers, preserve the vitality of the Goshen community, and maintain the value in our homes and our property. In addition, I encourage the board to recognize that this revised budget is not the end of the road, but should be seen as a beginning. The vote should be the next step in a long-term commitment to creating fiscally responsible, student-first budgets. To build that sustainable future, though, we need to prioritize the present moment. And so I do share again that I will be voting yes, and I hope that other members of the community will do the same. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Next we have Tara Connell.
Are you guys related?
We should just like stand up together and high five tag team. But no, I also share Joe's sentiments and thanking you about all the work that you've done. I know that there were parties at John's house to make sure that the budget was changed and hopefully is more appreciated by everybody in the district with a vote of yes. And I just really wanted to just make some suggestions to help you get it passed. The district and the Board of Ed need to do more publicity. The publicizing of meetings on Parent Square are inconsistent. In fact, nothing was sent out about tonight. And yes, we know you are meeting the legal requirements but what you're doing, you could go beyond that. Several of you campaigned on transparency and improved communication from the district. And as Board of Ed members, you're now a part of the district. So how are you working on increasing the communication from the Board of Ed? What can be done to publicize more to families and members of the Goshen community? You can't rely on the GTA to do the work for you, and you can't rely on us to do the work for you on social media. There should be more Parent Square messages sent out about Board of Ed meetings, especially about tonight's hearing. In meetings, you've mentioned how there are Facebook posts that may be misinformed or opinions that aren't brought to the mic. However, it would be great if you used social media to share Board of Ed happenings. In addition, how are you reaching families and voters who are not a part of the district and who are not on Parent Square? As someone who won't be a parent in the district in 3 more years, am I kicked off of district emails? Do I not receive the emails from the district? I've read on Facebook people who are not receiving Parent Square saying, how did they get the emails? And they don't. So how can we include the community in the way that people communicate most, which is social media texts, and emails. Mr. Bon Jovi, you have an active YouTube series, and I listened to your past Friday post. However, it would have been a way to publicize tonight's meeting or how to listen to Board of Ed meetings, but I didn't hear that come from you. And finally, you have over 250 seniors graduating in just a few weeks, our son included. And voting yes would be a wonderful way for them to give back to the district after the education and experience they received here as gladiators. A budget presentation and social media campaign to your graduating seniors with encouragement to vote and vote yes, if that's allowed, would be very powerful. It could be their first vote. And I hope that the district and Board of Ed finds a way to celebrate that for our seniors. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No other sign-ups, Maureen? Okay, very good. And, you know, I just want to share a thought here before we close the meeting. This board is very committed to taking the feedback, hearing it, and moving forward and continuing to do our best. I can tell you that conversations we've had over the past few meetings have been, what can we do in forthcoming budget presentations? We had 6 of them. What else can we add? Are there other forms of communication we can put out there? These are certainly conversations that we have, and I hope that the community has seen that in the past, when suggestions have been made, we've heard them, and we do want to work with that. So we fully intend to keep improving this process. I know everybody who's sitting at this table and the 2 folks that aren't right now, it is certainly their goal, and we appreciate the feedback. Again, a thank you to everybody in the community who did reach out, asking actual questions, and again, thank you for your patience if there was a question that required a little bit more time to answer. We put together a revised budget in a 2-week period to meet the time frame of the board adopting it to get it to the next vote. So we thank you all for that again. Lastly, we just strongly encourage everybody to please get out there and vote. Like we said it before, you have the right, vote how you like, but please just get out there and do so. Don't vote in spite. This might not be the perfect budget for you, and there might be a few small line items that you're still not in line with. But 1.6 million is a long way to go to ensure we get all of the services that our students need to have a great district. So again, thank you to everybody. Thank you to the team to my left for all the hard work, the tons of emails, and for everybody sitting here, all the extra meetings, just putting in the work to get it done. Any closing thoughts from anybody else? No, you all set? Great. All right. Thank you again, everybody. We can motion to close the public hearing. We have all in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. Thank you very much, everyone.